Welcome to the Story Lab. I hope you enjoy this story. Let's begin. The moment I stepped into our house, I knew something was wrong. The air felt stale, heavy with an eerie silence that made my skin crawl. Jennifer? I called out, my voice echoing through the empty rooms. I'm home. No response. I frowned, dragging my suitcase behind me as I made my way to our bedroom. The door was locked. Jen, are you in there? I knocked, a sinking feeling in my gut. Is everything okay? Silence. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking as I unlocked the door. The room was immaculate, as if no one had been there for days. On the bed lay a manila envelope. My heart raced as I opened it, revealing a stack of papers. Divorce papers. What the hell? I muttered, flipping through the pages. This had to be some kind of sick joke. I pulled out my phone, dialing Jennifer's number. Straight to voicemail. Jennifer, it's me. I just got home and... What's going on? Call me back, please. I hung up, my mind reeling. We'd been happy, hadn't we? Sure, things had been a little strained lately with my long hours at work, but divorce? This came out of nowhere. A thought struck me, and I rushed to my laptop, logging into our joint bank account. My blood ran cold. Empty. Every last cent, gone. I slumped onto the bed, my world crumbling around me. What was happening? I needed answers, and I knew just who to call. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a dimly lit bar, nursing a whiskey I hadn't touched. Sebastian slid into the booth across from me, concern etched on his face. Asher, what's going on? You sounded pretty shaken up on the phone. I looked up at my best friend, his retired cop instincts already kicking in. Seb, I don't even know where to start. The beginning's usually a good place, he said, signaling the bartender for a drink. I took a deep breath. I got home from my business trip and found divorce papers on the bed. Jennifer's gone, and so is all our money. Sebastian's eyes widened. All of it? I nodded, running a hand through my hair. Every last penny from our joint account. I can't reach her, can't find her. It's like she vanished into thin air. Have you called the police? I shook my head. And tell them what? My wife left me and took our money? For all I know, she could have been planning this for months. Sebastian leaned back, his brow furrowed in thought. This doesn't add up, Ash. Jennifer's always seemed so devoted to you. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, well, appearances can be deceiving, I guess. Look, Sebastian said, leaning forward. I may be retired, but I've still got some contacts in law enforcement. Let me do some digging, see what I can find out. Hope flickered in my chest. You do that? Of course, man. You're my best friend. We'll get to the bottom of this. I nodded, grateful for his support. Thanks, Seb. I need to know what happened. Have you told Kendall yet? My sister. I groaned, realizing I'd completely forgotten to call her. No, I haven't. God, she's going to flip. Call her, Sebastian urged. She's got resources we could use. That TV show of hers might come in handy. I pulled out my phone, dreading the conversation. Kendall picked up on the second ring. Asher, how's my favorite brother? I'm your only brother, Ken, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She must have sensed something was off. What's wrong? I took a deep breath. Jennifer's gone. She left divorce papers and emptied our bank account. What? Kendall's voice rose an octave. Are you serious? Where is she? I don't know. That's why I'm calling. I need your help. There was a pause on the other end. I'm on my way. Where are you? O'Malley's with Sebastian. Give me 20 minutes. The line went dead. I looked at Sebastian, who was watching me intently. She's coming, I said. Sebastian nodded. Good. We'll need all the help we can get. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. My mind raced with questions. How long had Jennifer been planning this? Was our entire marriage a lie? True to her word, Kendall burst through the bar doors exactly 20 minutes later. She spotted us and made a beeline for our booth, her face a mix of concern and determination. All right, she said, sliding in next to me. Tell me everything. I recounted the events of the day, my voice hollow as I described coming home to an empty house and a stack of divorce papers. Kendall's eyes narrowed. This doesn't sound like Jennifer at all. Something's not right here. That's what I said, Sebastian chimed in. I'm going to use my old contacts to see what I can dig up. Kendall nodded. Good. I'll do some digging of my own. My show's got a pretty extensive research team. We'll find out what's going on, Ash. I promise. I looked between my sister and my best friend, overwhelmed by their support. Thanks, guys. I don't know what I'd do without you. Hey, Kendall said, squeezing my hand. That's what family's for. We've got your back. Sebastian raised his glass. To finding the truth. We clinked our glasses together, a small moment of solidarity in the chaos that had become my life. As we sat there, planning our next moves, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than a simple divorce. The next few days passed in a blur of phone calls, meetings, and sleepless nights. Sebastian had been working his contacts in law enforcement, while Kendall had her research team digging into Jennifer's past. I was left feeling helpless, pacing around my empty house and jumping every time my phone rang. It was on the fourth day that everything changed. I was sitting in my home office, staring blankly at the computer screen, when my phone buzzed. It was Sebastian. Ash, you need to come to my place. Now. His tone sent a chill down my spine. What is it? Did you find something? Just get here as soon as you can. Kendall's on her way too. I didn't bother changing out of my sweatpants and old t-shirt. 10 minutes later, I was knocking on Sebastian's door. He ushered me in, his face grim. Kendall was already there, pacing the living room. She stopped when she saw me, her expression a mix of anger and pity. What's going on? I asked, looking between them. Sebastian gestured for me to sit. We've found some information about Jennifer. My heart raced. Is she okay? Did something happen to her? Kendall let out a bitter laugh. Oh, she's fine. Better than fine. Actually, Sebastian shot her a warning look before turning back to me. Asher, there's no easy way to say this. We've uncovered evidence that Jennifer, well, she's done this before. I blinked, not comprehending. Done what before? Kendall couldn't contain herself any longer. She's a con artist, Ash, a professional gold digger. You're not her first victim, and I doubt you'll be her last. The room seemed to spin. I gripped the arms of the chair, trying to steady myself. What are you talking about? Sebastian pulled out a file and spread its contents on the coffee table. We've found records of at least 3 previous marriages, all to wealthy men. Each time, she drained their accounts and disappeared. I stared at the documents, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. There were marriage certificates, divorce papers, bank statements, all with Jennifer's name or variations of it. No, I muttered. This can't be right. There must be some mistake. Kendall knelt in front of me, her eyes filled with sympathy. I'm so sorry, Ash, but it's true. We've cross-referenced everything. The Jennifer you knew, she doesn't exist. I felt like I was going to be sick. But why me? I'm not. I mean, we're comfortable, but I'm not exactly a millionaire. Sebastian cleared his throat. Actually, that's the other thing we discovered. Your recent promotion, the one that's had you traveling so much, it put you in a whole new tax bracket. We think she was waiting for that before she made her move. The realization hit me like a truck. All those late nights at the office, the missed dinners, the business trips. I thought I was building a better future for us. Instead, I was just fattening up the prize for her to steal. There's more, Kendall said softly. We have reason to believe she's already moved on to her next target. A real estate developer named Rick Thompson. I felt a surge of anger, hot and unfamiliar. We have to stop her. We can't let her do this to someone else. Sebastian and Kendall exchanged a look. We're working on it, Sebastian said. But we need to be careful. She's clearly very good at what she does. I stood up, pacing the room. I want to confront her. Make her face what she's done. Asher, no, Kendall said firmly. That's exactly what we can't do. If we tip her off, she'll disappear again. We need to be smart about this. I ran my hands through my hair, frustration and betrayal warring inside me. So what do we do? Sebastian leaned forward. We build a case. gather evidence, and then we expose her, not just to the police, but to the public. Make it impossible for her to do this to anyone else. Kendall nodded. I can use my show to get the word out. Once we have enough concrete evidence, we'll do a special expose. I looked between them, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. You really think we can do this? We have to try, Sebastian said. For you, and for all her other victims. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. Okay, where do we start? Kendall stood up, a determined glint in her eye. First, we need to get your story out there. Generate some public interest. I want you on my show, Ash. We'll tell your side of the story, hint at the bigger revelations to come. I hesitated. I don't know, Ken. I'm not sure I'm ready to go public with all this. You have to, she insisted. It's the only way to draw her out, to let her know we're onto her game. Sebastian nodded in agreement. Kendall's right. We need to make some noise, get people talking. It might even bring other victims forward. I rubbed my face, feeling the weight of the past few days. And you really think this will work? It's our best shot, Kendall said softly. Trust me, Ash. I know what I'm doing. I looked at my sister, saw the determination in her eyes, and knew I had to take the leap. All right, I said finally. I'll do it. Kendall smiled, a fierce, protective expression. Good. We'll film tomorrow. Sebastian, can you get in touch with your tech guy? What's his name? Owen? Sebastian nodded. Yeah, Owen. Good thinking. We'll need his expertise to track Jennifer's digital footprint. As they began to plan, discussing strategies and timelines, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger at Jennifer's betrayal, fear of what was to come, but also a growing sense of resolve. We were going to expose her, to stop her from hurting anyone else. For the first time since I'd walked into that empty house, I felt a spark of something like hope. Whatever Jennifer had planned, whatever game she was playing, we were going to beat her at it. As I left Sebastian's place that night, my mind was racing with everything we discovered and everything we were about to do. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to face it. The morning of Kendall's show, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie for the 10th time. My hands shook slightly as I smoothed down my shirt. You ready for this? Sebastian's voice came from behind me. I turned to face my friend. As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, stick to the plan. Share your story, but don't reveal everything. We want to keep Jennifer guessing. I nodded, taking a deep breath. What if she sees it and disappears? That's why we've got Owen, tracking her digital footprint. If she makes a move, we'll know. The drive to the studio was quiet. As we pulled into the parking lot, I felt my stomach churn. Asher. Kendall waved us over as we entered the building. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to throw up on live television. She squeezed my arm. You'll do great. Just be honest and let me guide the conversation. In the makeup chair, I tried to calm my nerves. Sebastian stood nearby, keeping a watchful eye. What if I freeze up? I asked. You won't, Sebastian reassured me. Just tell your story. The truth is on your side. Before I knew it, I was seated across from Kendall under the bright studio lights. The producer counted down, and we were live. Good morning, Sacramento, Kendall began. Today, we have a special guest. My brother, Asher Hardaway, is here to share a deeply personal story of betrayal and deception. She turned to me. Asher, can you tell us what happened? I swallowed hard. A few weeks ago, I came home from a business trip to find my wife gone. She'd left divorce papers and emptied our joint bank account. That must have been devastating, Kendall prompted. It was. I thought we were happy. I never saw it coming. And what have you discovered since then? I leaned forward. I've learned that the woman I married, she isn't who I thought she was. There's a pattern of deception that goes beyond just me. Kendall nodded. Can you elaborate on that? Not fully, not yet. But I can say that I'm not the first person she's done this to. And I'm determined to make sure I'm the last. The interview continued, with Kendall skillfully guiding the conversation. By the end, I felt drained but oddly empowered. As we left the studio, Sebastian's phone buzzed. It's Owen, he said, answering. Yeah, we just finished. Any updates? I watched Sebastian's face as he listened. Got it. Keep monitoring. We'll meet you later. What did he say? I asked as Sebastian hung up. The interview's already trending. Owen set up alerts for Jennifer's name and known aliases. If she reacts, we'll know. Back at my place, we gathered in the living room. Owen arrived shortly after, laptop in hand. All right, folks, Owen said, setting up his computer. Let's see what we've got. He pulled up a series of graphs and charts. The interview's blown up. It's all over social media. People are sharing their own stories of betrayal, speculating about Jennifer. Has she made any moves? I asked. Owen shook his head. Not yet. But if she's smart, she's laying low. Kendall paced the room. We need to keep the momentum going. Asher, how do you feel about making a video? I blinked. A video? Yeah, Owen chimed in. Something more personal than the interview. Really pull at people's heartstrings. Sebastian nodded. It could work. The more public sympathy we generate, the harder it'll be for Jennifer to hide. I ran a hand through my hair. I don't know. Isn't the interview enough? Trust me, Owen said. In today's world, you need to go viral to make a real impact. Kendall sat beside me. I know it's a lot, Ash, but think about all the people Jennifer's hurt. All the people she might hurt in the future if we don't stop her. I sighed, knowing they were right. Okay, what do I need to do? Over the next few hours, we crafted the video. Owen set up lighting and coached me on delivery. By the time we finished, I felt emotionally drained. That was perfect, Owen said, reviewing the footage. Raw, honest. People are going to eat this up. When do we release it? I asked. Tomorrow morning, Kendall said. Prime time for social media engagement. As everyone packed up to leave, Sebastian hung back. You okay? He asked once we were alone. I shrugged. I don't know. This all feels surreal. I know, but we're making progress. We're going to bring her down, Ash. The next morning, I woke to my phone buzzing nonstop. The video had been posted an hour ago, and it was already going viral. I scrolled through the notifications, overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. People were sharing their own stories, offering words of encouragement, demanding justice. A call from Kendall came through. Ash, have you seen the numbers? It's insane, I said. I had no idea it would blow up like this. This is exactly what we needed. The pressure's on Jennifer now. She can't hide forever. As the days passed, the story gained more traction. News outlets picked it up, and soon I was fielding interview requests from across the country. Through it all, Owen kept a close eye on Jennifer's digital footprint. She's gone dark, he reported during one of our meetings. No activity on any known accounts or aliases. That's good, right? I asked. It means she's running scared. Sebastian shook his head. It means she's being careful. We need to be prepared for her to fight back. Kendall leaned forward. Which is why we need to move to the next phase. We've got public opinion on our side. Now we need hard evidence. What are you thinking? I asked. A live TV special, she said, her eyes gleaming. We'll present all the evidence we've gathered, interview some of Jennifer's other victims. Really nail her to the wall. I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. And you think that'll be enough to bring her in? Sebastian nodded. With the public pressure and the evidence we've gathered, she'll have nowhere to hide. As we began planning the TV special, I couldn't shake a nagging feeling. What if Jennifer had one last trick up her sleeve? What if we were underestimating her? The night of the live TV special arrived. I paced backstage, my heart pounding. Kendall approached, adjusting her earpiece. You ready for this? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. Any word from Owen? Kendall shook her head. Nothing yet. But don't worry, we've got eyes everywhere. Sebastian appeared, his face grim. Show's about to start. Remember, stick to the plan. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Let's do this. The lights dimmed, and I heard Kendall's voice boom through the studio. Good evening, Sacramento. Tonight, we bring you an explosive expose that will shock our city to its core. I watched from the wings as Kendall introduced the show, laying out the basics of my story. Then, it was my cue. Please welcome my brother, Asher Hardaway. I walked onto the set, the bright lights momentarily blinding me. As I sat across from Kendall, I could feel the tension in the room. Asher, Kendall began, you've been through quite an ordeal. Can you tell us what's happened since we last spoke? I leaned forward. Well, Kendall, what started as a personal betrayal has turned into something much bigger. We've uncovered a pattern of deception that spans years and affects multiple victims. And you have evidence to support these claims? We do, I nodded. But before we get to that, I think it's important for people to hear from some of Jennifer's other victims. Kendall turned to the camera. We've reached out to several individuals who claim to have fallen prey to Jennifer's schemes. Let's hear from them now. The screens behind us lit up, showing faces of men I'd never met but whose stories mirrored my own. She seemed so genuine, one man said, his voice cracking. I never suspected a thing until it was too late. Another chimed in. By the time I realized what was happening, she'd drained my accounts and disappeared. As the testimonies continued, I felt a mix of anger and relief. Anger at what Jennifer had done. Relief that I wasn't alone. Kendall turned back to me. Asher, hearing these stories, how does it make you feel? Honestly, it's overwhelming, but it also strengthens my resolve. We need to stop her from hurting anyone else. And that brings us to the evidence we've gathered, Kendall said. Owen, can you walk us through what you found? Owen appeared on screen, his usual laid-back demeanor replaced by focused professionalism. Of course, Kendall. We've compiled financial records, marriage certificates, and divorce papers that show a clear pattern of fraud. He began displaying documents on the screen, walking the audience through Jennifer's trail of deceit. As you can see, Owen continued, Jennifer, or whatever her real name is, has been operating this scam for years. She targets wealthy individuals, marries them, drains their accounts, and then disappears. I watched as the evidence mounted, each piece adding to the weight of Jennifer's crimes. It was overwhelming to see it all laid out like this. Kendall turned to me. Asher, seeing all this evidence, how do you feel about your relationship with Jennifer now? I took a deep breath. It's hard, Kendall. Part of me still wants to believe it was real. But the evidence is undeniable. Our entire relationship was built on lies. And what would you say to Jennifer if she were watching right now? I looked directly into the camera. Jennifer, if you're out there, it's over. You can't hide anymore. Turn yourself in and face what you've done. As the show continued, Sebastian's phone buzzed. He discreetly made his way to me during a commercial break. We've got movement, he whispered. Owens tracked her to a hotel on the outskirts of town. My heart raced. She's watching? Sebastian nodded. Looks like it. And she's spooked. Owen says she's booking a flight out of the country. I turned to Kendall, who was getting touch-ups from the makeup team. We need to wrap this up. Jennifer's on the move. Kendall's eyes widened. Are you sure? Positive, Sebastian cut in. We need to move now if we want to catch her. Kendall nodded, turning to her producer. We're cutting the show short. Family emergency. As Kendall made her closing statements, Sebastian and I slipped out the back. Owen was waiting in a car outside. Where to? I asked as we jumped in. Owen's fingers flew over his laptop keyboard. She's heading east, probably trying to reach the airport. Sebastian started the car. Not if we have anything to say about it. We sped through the streets of Sacramento, Owen providing real-time updates on Jennifer's movements. She stopped, Owen announced. Looks like a cabin? About 30 miles outside the city. Sebastian pressed harder on the gas. She's cornered. Let's end this. As we approached the cabin, I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. What would I say when I saw her? How would she react? We pulled up to the cabin, the headlights illuminating a rental car parked out front. She's definitely here, Sebastian said, drawing his gun. Stay behind me. We approached the cabin cautiously. Suddenly, the door flew open, and there she was. Jennifer, the woman I thought I knew, the woman I had loved. Asher, she gasped, her eyes wide with shock. What are you doing here? I stepped forward. It's over, Jennifer. We know everything. She glanced between us, her mind clearly racing. Then, her expression changed, softening into the look I'd fallen for so many times before. Asher, baby, you don't understand, she pleaded. I can explain everything. I felt a familiar pull, the desire to believe her. But I steeled myself, remembering all we'd uncovered. No more lies, Jennifer, I said firmly. It's time to face what you've done. She took a step towards me, her hand outstretched. Please, Asher. You know me. You know I love you. Sebastian moved between us. That's enough. Jennifer, you're under arrest. As if on cue, police sirens wailed in the distance. Jennifer's face fell, the mask of innocence slipping away. You'll never prove anything, she spat, her voice cold and unfamiliar. I shook my head. We already have. It's all out there, Jennifer. Every lie, every scam. The police cars pulled up, officers pouring out with weapons drawn. As they cuffed Jennifer and led her away, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief, sadness, anger, and oddly, a sense of closure. Sebastian clapped a hand on my shoulder. You did it, man. It's over. I nodded, watching as the police car carrying Jennifer disappeared down the road. Yeah, it's over. The next few weeks passed in a blur. The story of Jennifer's arrest made national news, with Kendall's show at the center of it all. More victims came forward, strengthening the case against her. I sat in my lawyer's office, staring at the divorce settlement in front of me. This is more than fair, my lawyer said. Given the circumstances, the judge was quite sympathetic to your case. I nodded, signing the papers. What about the money she stole? A good portion of it has been recovered. It'll be divided among the victims, yourself included. As I left the office, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't just about the money. It was about closure, about finally being free from Jennifer's web of lies. I met Sebastian at our usual bar that evening. He raised his glass as I sat down. To justice, he said. I clinked my glass against his. To new beginnings. Sebastian leaned back. So, what's next for Asher Hardaway? I took a sip of my drink. I'm thinking of moving. Fresh start, you know? Where to? Seattle, I said. I've always liked it there. Plus, it's about as far from all this as I can get without leaving the country. Sebastian nodded. I'll miss you, man. But I get it. You need this. What about you? I asked. Any big plans? He grinned. Actually, yeah. I'm opening my own PI firm. This whole experience made me realize how much I missed the work. I smiled, genuinely happy for my friend. That's great, Seb. You'll be amazing at it. As we sat there, talking about the future, I felt a sense of hope I hadn't experienced in months. The betrayal still stung. The wounds were still fresh. But for the first time, I could see a path forward. The next morning, I stood in my empty apartment, the last of my boxes packed and ready for the move. Kendall arrived to see me off. You sure about this? She asked, helping me load the final box into my car. I nodded. I need a fresh start, Ken. But don't worry, I'll visit often. She pulled me into a hug. You better. And call me when you get there, okay? As I drove out of Sacramento, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the pain, the fight for justice. It had been the hardest period of my life, but I'd survived. More than that, I'd come out stronger. I thought about Jennifer, now facing the consequences of her actions. Part of me still couldn't reconcile the woman I'd loved with the person she'd turned out to be. But I was done dwelling on the past. It was time to look forward. The Welcome to Seattle sign appeared on the horizon. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of excitement and possibility. This was more than just a new city. It was a new chapter, a chance to redefine myself on my own terms. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I was eager to find out. As I crossed the city limits, I smiled to myself. The journey had been tough, but it had led me here, to a new beginning, full of promise and hope. The betrayal that had nearly broken me had instead become the catalyst for change. And as I drove into my new life, I realized that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.